Hello, and welcome again. In this session, we will introduce the requirements for decision quality. Now, many people think about what is a good decision, and most of them define it by outcomes. We've already made the point in the demonstration that a decision can't be judged by its outcome if there's uncertainty. Well, if you can't judge it by its outcome, how do you know at the time you make it whether it has quality? It doesn't help with hindsight to know what you should have done. You've got to be able to apply it at the time you make a decision. And that's why we introduced the idea of the requirements of decision quality. Now, let me start with the decision tree that we drew in our little demo, and note that there are alternatives. Okay? And any decision has to have alternatives so you don't have a decision to make. And secondly, we had information. Because decisions are forward-looking, the information is represented by possibilities, what can happen, and how likely that is, the probabilities. Okay? So we can describe the future through possibilities and probabilities. And finally, on that decision tree, we had something else of how much is it worth to us if we reach that end point on that path. And we call that values. In that case, it was very simple. It was just monetary value. But those three basic elements, alternatives, information, and values, are the basis of any decision. We call that the decision basis. We combined that with reasoning. We calculated this e-value and then found that we could choose the alternative that has the higher e-value, okay? And so that's what we call decision reasoning. And those four things are really the central elements of any decision if we want to make it rationally and get the most of what we truly want. Now, to add quality to it, we'll talk a little bit about adjectives. Like if we want quality in our alternatives, we want them to be creative, and often we say creative and doable, okay? That is practically doable, but creative alternatives. And we want relevant and reliable information. We want the information that really helps in making the decision, that's relevant, and we have to have trustworthy information so that we can have quality in the information. In terms of what we truly want, we want to represent them as clear values and trade-offs, and usually in metrics that really tie to our true values and what we truly want. Okay? Now, add to that reasoning, and those are the four elements. It would be sound reasoning in the case of quality. Okay? Those would be the four elements that we have to have in a good decision. This first three we call the basis of the decision. They're the inputs. The sound reasoning is how we put it together. And we apply the sound reasoning so we find the best of these alternatives that gives us the most of what we want in light of this information, which tends to be, in the case of uncertainty, possibilities and probabilities for each of the alternatives. All of that gives us the rationally best choice, given we have good alternatives. Well, to really make a good decision, you have to be solving the right problem in the first place. You have to be focusing on the appropriate frame. Having the perfect solution to the wrong problem doesn't help us very much. But if we have all five of these elements, we're solving the right problem, and we're doing it well with sound reasoning, we get to clarity about what we should do, so clarity of intention. There's one big thing still missing, and that is turning intention into true action. In simple decisions, it's just connected. We decide, we do. But in business decisions, often the difference between having a decision made and having the execution function effectively has to be quite a transition point. And that idea of having the intentions right, but not getting the action happens a lot. In fact, we're all familiar with the saying, the path to hell is paved with good intentions. We do some teaching of teenagers on decision quality, and that often is a big issue. And I sometimes joke, I wish I had worked with teenagers before I worked with executives, and I would have learned how to be fast and to the point, because their attention span is about the same length. Everybody wants to get to the essence very quickly. Okay? And that's what we have to do with this clarity. It's not about the complexity of all of this. It is about how to get to the simplicity of what should we do. And if we get that right, we have the quality in terms of the intention of the decision, and now we have to get the commitment to action. If we have full commitment to action around the best choice, we've got a high-quality decision. Now, every one of those elements and requirements of decision quality are necessary, and together they are sufficient. And the weakest link defines the overall quality. That's why we draw it as a chain. That's why we have used the chain as an icon, and that has really stuck and become quite popular. So we use that as a kind of a symbol of decision quality. Sometimes we draw the chain elements as a hanging chain and add what we call a slider scale. Now on the slider scale, we've added that this 100% mark. And what we mean with 100% on any one of the elements is we have put in so much effort that in fact doing more doesn't get us the value in improving the quality of the decision. So it is not worth additional effort or delay to improve the frame. We've got the problem right enough. There's no perfection in this. In fact, trying to get to perfection on any one of those requirements is one of the things that'll slow you down. You get to paralysis by analysis on sound reasoning. You get to all kinds of procrastination because people say they don't have enough information. You need enough so that the quality of the decision is no further improved with the extra effort and delay. And if we understand that about each element, we can develop 100% and do it in a reasonable time. And being able to judge when we are there is one of the more important judgments that you as a decision maker have to learn. If you can judge the quality of the frame, the quality of the alternatives, the relevant and reliable information, the clarity of values and trade-offs, the sound reasoning, and the commitment to action, you have gained the key capabilities out of this course that we hope to get to you in the following sessions. We'll spend significant time on each of those and go through them systematically. Thank you very much.